Greetings, everybody. Welcome to Live Courageously, podcast show number 8 of 2022. I created this podcast show to share the stories of some amazing, courageous friends I'm honored to have in my life. And I chose the title of Live Courageously because that's been the conscious theme of my life for the last 2 years since the beginning of the pandemic, and probably an unconscious theme for most of my life. If you haven't seen the previous 7 podcasts, you can watch them on my Live Courageously YouTube channel or at Duff Square Film on Rumble. And I recommend you check them out and binge watch them to get a real amazing dose of courage from some very courageous folks. So these are very challenging and dangerous times we live in. And a natural reaction is fear. But fear is just that, a reaction. And courage, in a contrast, is a choice. And it's because of the reality that we're in, you need to make a conscious choice to choose courage to get through life and get through what may be coming in the future. On earlier shows, I talked about the 6 types of courage. I'm just going to repeat that again because I think it just kind of stands out, and it's important to kind of realize the different types of courage. Some are big and some are small. There's physical courage, there's social courage, there's moral courage, there's emotional courage, there's intellectual courage, and the spiritual courage. And sometimes we are dealing with all of those at the same time, and sometimes we're not. But I encourage you to adopt the spirit of courage in the face of any and all fears that you have in your life. So let me introduce you today to my guest, a friend, Tim Abell. Tim is an actor, a host, and a producer living in Los Angeles. He is an avid outdoorsman. Tim hosted Dorsey Pictures' outstanding television series, Grateful Nation, which we'll be talking about, for 10 seasons, honoring our returned wounded veterans on the Outdoor Channel. As an actor, he starred as a former U.S. Marine scout sniper, Benny Ray Riddle, in a producer Jerry Bruckheimer's TV series, Soldiers of Fortune, Inc., and many other film and TV projects such as We Were Soldiers, NCIS, CSI New York, CSI Miami, Sons of Anarchy, and 100 more projects that he's been involved in. And we'll talk a little bit about that as well today. He was also the 2012 chairman of the board of the nonprofit Gallant Few organization, an amazing organization doing great work. And he continues to serve on this board for over 10 years, helping our returning veterans re-enter and readapt into civilian life. Tim is proud to have served as a U.S. Army Ranger with the 275 Ranger Battalion and the 3rd U.S. Infantry Regiment, the Old Guard, Cason Platoon. Tim was honored to be inducted into 2014 as a distinguished member of the 3rd U.S. Infantry Regiment, DMOR, and Tim is a lifetime member of the U.S. Army Ranger Association, and sua sponte, as he says. So let's welcome Tim to the show. Greetings, brother. Thank you for joining me, and thank you for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me on, John. Really do appreciate it.
Well, what I like to start out the show, and I think you may have even checked it, I like to ask how we met, because all the people so far that I'm going to be going and interviewing on the show are people that I've met in my life and had experiences with. So we'll start with how we met, if you remember, or I'll you. And then secondly, I'm going to ask you how, what does Live Courageously mean to you in your life? How do you take that? But let's start with how we met and some of the things we experienced together.
Well, I know we did do that, the flag project, and I know we met before that. You're going to have to refresh my memory because I go way back to, like, when did John and I meet? I try because I can't remember when we met.
I have the same thing, Tim, but I think it was the flag project, but I would not bet money on it, but I know, so I ended up directing 2 short films.
Yeah.
One was a fictional piece and one was a documentary educational piece for a Army veteran friend of ours, Dave Alspach, and it was his project. Yeah. I ended up stepping up and directing it. And you were one of the people that I interviewed about what the flag meant to you. And I think that's when we first met, but I won't, like I said, I'm not going to bet on it. It might've been before that.
Yeah. I remember the flag very well. And I just, I was trying to think, did we meet prior to that? And I don't know. I
And
think
so,
that's when we really talked. That's when we met, and that's really, I believe, when we formed a relationship and
yeah,
friendship. And
and
I was just always so impressed with you and what you've done for our veterans and for other people that are interested in what you do as a line producer. And you're always giving your knowledge and sharing your experiences and how people could do what you're doing, and especially those guys and girls that were transitioning from the services to a life in Hollywood. So I've always been inspired by you because you've always been that person who kind of lived outside the box and wanted to do more than just help yourself. You wanted to help others, and so I've always been inspired by that.
well, I mean, I thank you, Tim, for those kind words, man. I think that's why it's amazing the amount of great people I've met in my life, and you're one of those. And it's because of, and I think you know this well, and we're going to talk about your amount of service. But I think when in just general in life, when we step outside ourselves and we realize that we can serve others, it leads to better connections and a better experience of life. When it's not just about us, but it's about how can we serve, how can we help, and you exemplify that in all the different aspects of the Grateful Nation, Gallant Few, and being that person who's willing to serve. And that's why I think I connected so hard with you as well, because that's who you are.
I told you just prior to the show here that I listened to a few of your episodes, and Eileen Gruba, who I've known for a few years, and I don't want to say we're like buddies, we're acquaintances. I admire her work, and I've always admired her courage. And I thought she was a perfect first guest for you when she was talking about living courageously and her life and what she's gone through, and how she's continued to push forward. And getting back to that theme of, it wasn't just about her, but she wanted to inspire the people and helping those kids, as she talked about when she was helping children and loving them for who they were, not for what, for the perfection that Hollywood has and puts out there, where people feel that they have to be absolutely gorgeous and perfect and slim and handsome and all those things. And she sort of exemplifies, no, I can do what I want. No one's going to tell me I can't do what I want. And I'm going to encourage those who have maybe issues similar to me. I'm going to encourage them to do the same. And I just found her just so refreshing, her point of view about, not getting an agent, and that agent telling her she'll never work. And then she got a bigger agent and then started working. It's like, that belief in yourself starts with how people perceive you and how you perceive yourself. And so Eileen's perspective on, loving people for who they are and accepting them for who they are, and not telling them that they can't do things. You know what? The world can be your oyster, whatever it might be. And, encourage that. And if someone has what it takes and they work hard and they go through the trials and tribulations and what it takes to ascend in the ranks of, whether as an actor or in the military or whatever it might be, God bless you, go for it. And, but other people are so cruel that, not just in this industry, but people that want to tell you can't do it, John. It's a pipe dream. You'll never make it. From where I come from back in Maryland, in a blue collar family and whatnot, it's like me becoming an actor was sort of like, that was like that kind of eye roll, like, what the hell is he thinking he's doing? How the hell, And so for me, it was sort of like, okay, I've got to, suck it up and, deal with that. And my pop, he's got some issues with me being an actor, because he goes, well, how the hell are you going to be an actor? What do you do? What do you know about being an actor? You were in the Army, for Christ's sake, and now you're going to be some actor? Come on. My pop wanted me to stay in the Army. He's a very pragmatic man. My dad said, stay in the Army, get 20 years in, then you get another job, and then you get another retirement, and then you'll be good. And I'm like, but Pop, that's not what I want to do. So anyway,
I want to take you on that, because I want to take you on the military and then your journey to why you chose to become an actor. And then, because when you talk about courage, there's all kinds of courage. So for you, Tim, what does the idea of living courageously mean to you personally? Obviously you exemplified it in the military, but just you also, it's not always big courage. There's also small courages to follow your dream, even though everybody tells you why you're doing that. You're crazy. So talk a little bit about how that came up in your life. How do you how did you live courageously throughout your life?
Well, yeah, you're right. There's big courage. There's little courage. I mean, listen, dealing with a lot of veterans from the different shows I've done and organizations I've been involved with, and seeing men and women who've suffered horrendous wounds and continue on. That's big courage, man. That is people that are just really inspirational to me because of what they've gone through and how they now live their life, and as an example for others. And for me, growing up as a kid in Maryland, I always knew I wanted to go in the army. My grandfather, Pappy Abell, as we called him, he was in World War I. Born in 1900, and would tell us stories about when he was a doughboy over in France, and I just remember that I loved hearing him tell stories about that and show pictures out of his books and whatnot. And I loved reading. And for me, that dream of wanting to be in the army when I became of age to join was something that, my father was for it. My father was, when I told my dad I wanted to join the army, he was like all for it, like great. My brother, on the other hand, my brother was like, you dumb shit. What do you want to do that for? Come on, we're going to work together and we're going to, do all these things. And I'm like, but that's not what I want to do. I want to go off and see the world. I want to, my point was this: with my grandfather having served in the military, I thought it was my job, because my dad didn't serve in the military. My brother wasn't going to serve. And I said, you know what? It's incumbent upon me to secure my family, the Abell family's, legacy here. It was my little patriotic dream of, fighting for my country, or at least putting my life out there in a way that I could say, you know what? I put my life out there. I joined the military for my family so that we could live free. And that was just my small little contribution to our country and to my family.
And
So
I remember when I interviewed you on the flag, you talked about that history of your family's contribution throughout generations in the military. That was one of the things you talked about when you talked about what the flag meant to you.
yes, and it's things change. I mean, everything with Jason Cisneros, and you guys talked about this, about the culture of, you can't talk politics. You can't have a differing of opinion without being canceled, or without, people coming down on you. It's the flag, to me, the American flag, the US flag, is very important. But that said, in my family, my great grandfather, to both of them. So I have great grandfather William Grandison Abell, one of my grandfathers, his grandfathers, and then my great grandfather on the other side fought for the North, and one fought for the South. So I had pride in my family, just in terms of, not that I'm out there waving a Confederate flag, but I go, you know what, these were two patriots who thought they were fighting for the right thing. The right conclusion, I believe, was met. You know what, the Union was preserved, and everybody was brought back into the Union. And for me, it's like, I'm proud of that. I'm proud of both sides for fighting for what they believed in. My grandfather on the northern side was a poor sharecropper, as was my grandfather on the southern side was a poor sharecropper. Nobody owned slaves. Nobody was, rich or powerful. They were just like myself, a blue collar person who, when it came to their government saying that we needed you to fight, then they fought.
And when you did join, when you decided, like you just mentioned, when you decided you wanted to, make your contribution and you joined the army, you also didn't just, you kind of went into a special division with the Rangers. So you just didn't go into the army. And so that's not an easy group to be in. Obviously it's an elite development. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I'd read a book prior to joining the military, based on the John Wayne movie, The Green Berets, and I wanted to go in the special forces, right? Robin Moore wrote this book, and it was a great book. I saw the movie, and for me, it was like when I went to my hometown recruiter, who was in the cafeteria. I said, I want to be a Green Beret. I want to be special forces, and right away, the recruiter goes, "Why the hell do you want to do that? Come on in, and we'll talk about the different jobs you can do." So, I mean, he tried everything: truck driver, computer technician, aircraft mechanic, all these things. And he goes, and I go, nah, you know what? if I join the Army, I want to do something I can only do in the Army. And I want to do something where I'm actually, having to test myself as a young man to to be able to fight for my country in a way that I wouldn't be able to otherwise. I mean, I can go to college, I can go to University of Maryland and get all those other jobs and maybe learn those other skills outside of the military, but I can only do this in the military. And so they shook their head and basically said, okay. And they couldn't get me a slot in the special forces because they were sort of filled up at the time. So he goes, I do have this thing called Rangers. And there's a new Ranger Battalion called the 2nd 75th Ranger Battalion out of Fort Lewis, Washington. I can get you that. I'll give you what they call a Ranger option on my contract. And so I read the brochure and I went, all the different things, sleep, going for, 5 days with no sleep, no food, and, swimming and scuba diving and rafting and climbing and jumping out of airplanes and testing yourself until exhausted. I thought, that's what I want to do.
Huh.
And he goes, well, if you don't make it, they could do whatever they want with you. You could become a cook. And I go, well, that'll be a motivation for me not to fail then, won't it?
No
So
kidding.
yeah, well, you know what? So it's like every young man, I thought, every young man, I believe, wants to know what they're made of, what that metal is, what do we have? And what do I have to offer? And if I can't make it, fine, then I get put someplace wherever and I'll make the best of that. But it was, for me, there was no quit. I said, you know what? Quitting is not an option, So you just go in 100%. And it's kind of what I've taken from the military and put into my life now is, there is no quit. It's like being an actor. It's like, I'm going to be an actor. So it's not about, well, what if I don't? We always have contingency plans. We always have those plans for failure in the military or in life. It's like, well, what if you don't succeed in the military? What if you don't succeed in this particular mission? What's your contingency? And we do have a contingency plan. But I found that in the world of entertainment and acting in this environment that we've chosen, John, is that when you have a contingency, most people will fall back to that contingency and do that. I've had so many friends who've had teaching credentials and they've fallen back to becoming a teacher. Next thing you know, that's what they do for forever. They're a teacher now.
Right.
People have a job, the computer science, and they fall back and start doing that. And next thing you know, that's what they're doing. Because why? Because they're making money and they don't want to give up making money. Being an actor and working in the entertainment, whether it's acting, directing, producing, writing, all those things, you got to be out there hustling. You got to hustle for gigs. You got to find work. You got to have, you got to have an agent who's trying to get your work, but you also have to have up here I'm not quitting. I'm not falling back. I don't have a contingency plan. And I mean, listen, my wife, Georgia, she's been like, why don't you, but this was years ago. She goes, why don't you take a real estate course like me and be a broker? I mean, just to have that to fall back. And I'm like going, I have no desire or passion to do that. I don't. And I remember I had all the books. I'm there. Okay, I can take the test. And but this is not, my heart is not in this. I can't do it.
Now, do you think, Tim, that well, two things. One is when you started out, because you had no contingency plan, or at least you didn't give into any contingency plan, that's why you succeeded as well as you have. And the fact that it is your passion, and it's your passion, and all these other things are okay, but it's not your passion. It doesn't drive you every day like this does. Is that why you think you've succeeded? And you've done, I don't know how many 100 projects, 115 projects you've been in. I don't know, but
there's a few.
A lot.
It's yes. Listen, have I had other jobs? Yes. When I first came out to LA, I mean, I bartended at a place called Le Cafe for like 4 years, slinging drinks, and I loved it. It was great. And listen, I go back to any job you have, do it to the best of your ability, right? I think there was a book I read back in college, The Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, and it was that any job you do is worth doing to the best of your ability. And so when I bartended, I was a happy bartender, and my pal John, who I love dearly, we're still pals. I mean, he was like, it was like good bartender, bad bartender, because John was a drummer and John hated being there. He wanted to be off doing some gigs someplace, playing around the country someplace with his band. And he was just like, Tim, could you take care of these people? I'm tired of this damn job. Right. And so I would go and be the happy guy, and people go, why are you so happy? And I go, you know what? Because I choose to be, here I am. I could choose to be angry and upset and not happy about being here. But I guess what? I'm making money. I'm making tips. I'm making friends. I'm introducing you to that person. Now you guys become friends. I go, you know what? At this moment, I love my job. And I've done that with not just that, but, when I built sets, a friend of mine, Bobby Knott, had got me a job with this company because, again, trying to get between gigs and not doing a lot of work. This is all before Soldier of Fortune gig came up. But, he goes, hey, you know how to sling a hammer? Can you build stuff? I go, yeah. He goes, I can get you a job over here at the set shop, in Burbank. And so went over there and worked with these guys, working 8-12 hours a day, slinging, building, measuring and cutting and, installing sets on places, but it was good money and it filled that void and made me money at the time. And so, I've never been opposed to having a job to make money. It's just that I didn't want to become a broker in real estate because my passion wasn't there as a job. It's always it was a short term until another acting gig came up. And then when I got Soldier of Fortune, that was sort of like the big lottery ticket item that all of a sudden came up. And it was sort of like, how the hell did that just happen? I just got lucky. And I had a great manager at the time, Danielle Dell, who believed in me, and she was able to make the deal happen, with my performance in the audition. But, again, those you said before, we don't have success without the help of others. It's never just the lone wolf McQuaid, where it's just me. I'm doing everything and no one's helping me and I succeed. We have a team of people. We have friends. We have partners in our life. We have those people that believe in us, that help us. And that, because I've gone through periods of time where it's been very difficult, and you go, damn, did I choose the right profession? This is like,
did you ever have that moment where you were that close to quitting? Did you ever get to that point?
I've never been close to quitting. I've just had that moment of, am I not good? But then I go, no, I know I'm good. I know I know I can bring things to what? That's what gets me. It's like, well, I just, it's just a matter of there's a lull until someone comes along and sees me in something and wants to hire me, or I read for them and they go, man, this guy was great. It's when you love something so much, the satisfaction I get from being in a film or on stage, whatever, in those moments, it's so gratifying and it feels good. And, I also say, I want to be able to set an example, as we said in the Rangers, you always, setting the example for others to follow. And if I can do that as a mentor or as an actor, that some young person who just got out of the military might go, my God, that guy, he's a good actor and he does great. And I want to emulate that. I want to be like that. He's given me the courage to be able to pursue that, because, I had no idea how I was going to be an actor when I said I want to be an actor. I'm back in Washington, D.C., and taking classes, doing plays, and studying at the Studio Theater in D.C. And it was sort of like, I don't know how this is going to work, but I just know I really, really like this, and I was at the University of Maryland at the same time and doing plays there. And then I was just I had not told my pop, that I wanted to be an actor. He thought I was doing something else, like going to get a business degree or go back in the military. And when I finally said, Dad, I think I'm going to be an actor. And that's when he was just like, what in the hell are you thinking? How do you make money doing that? And then it was sort of like, well, I don't know yet, Pop. I'm trying to figure that out.
Well, I kind of went on a similar journey, Tim. Obviously, I'm a poor blue collar, working class kid from the Bronx. And I've worked, I don't know, 40 different jobs of every type. And And then I got into acting and I pursued that. That took me to Hollywood the same way. And then, eventually decided it was behind the camera where I belong. But with all those jobs, I realized that, what I do now, I say, last movie I was up in Canada with Kevin Sorbo. We did a movie up there, I line produced. And I'm not kidding, but I don't feel like I work a day. It isn't work.
Yeah.
I worked in factories. I've done hard labor. I've drove cabs. Yep. I know what hard labor is, and when people complain about doing what we do, it just it baffles me. I'm like, are you serious? I mean, how can you complain about this?
Listen,
they're so blessed to do what we get to do, whether it's in front of the camera or behind the camera.
Exactly. No, I feel that too. And you on one of your podcasts, you guys were talking about, a lot of folks who like and that doesn't matter what it is, but they play that victim card,
Yeah.
And I know in the acting world, it's always, oh yeah, well, his dad's a damn director. That's why it's nepotism, and and he'd, it's like all these things. It's like, and there's a lot of haters too. It's like,
sure.
Listen, I've had friends that I've cut loose because when I got the Soldier of Fortune TV series, and it was huge for me. I was like a big, 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 wow. It was like, oh my God. And when that happened, I had a friend, and I'll say former friend, because he at the time was sort of like everything I did. He kind of like, one of the, kind of, pardon my language, but shit on, Oh, well, that's just a regional commercial. Or that's just a B movie. Who's going to see that? And I got the series, and he goes, well, that's just okay, it might be Bruckheimer, but it's a syndicated series. And I go, why is it you can't be happy? Why can't you just go, dude, that's awesome? I go, right. Well, I'm just trying to, and he's one of those friends who had been in a soap opera for years, and he kind of mentored me a little bit, which I was always grateful for.
Sure.
But he ended up becoming a teacher because he fell back to that fallback position of being a teacher. And that's what I don't even know if that's what he's doing now, but I for the next 10 years, I believe that's what he did. And so sort of like, I think it was his anger at himself that he was projecting on me.
Of course.
And because he was so upset with himself and his own career. So, I try not to take those things personal. I don't want to hold grudges. I don't want to, if I can mend a bridge and I can say, I'm sorry, it was just as much me or whatever, then mea culpa. Let's just move on and be friends and not have this bad blood between us. Because I lost a brother. A few years back, my older brother. And, I always wish that there was things that I had said to him, and him and I had rekindled and had a great relationship again, like we once had. But, I never had the chance to, because we had some issues. Same with, listen, as we get older, and I try to go, well, you know what? Living courageously means we might look at that timeline for what we have and go, wow, is 20 years, what can I do in the next 15 to 20 years? I have to sort of step up my game. I can't just sit back and, wait for things to happen. I know we have to kind of make things happen. And that's where I find living courageously comes, because it's like you can be, I'll talk about me, but being about, wow, I want to be doing a series again. Wow, I'd like to be doing, that project or this project, and how do I make those happen? And so it's as opposed to being a victim going, I'll never get that, and what, whatever the reasoning is, I have to look at my life in a way that, get better every day at what I do. As Eileen Gruber said, be the best you possibly can, where people can't neglect you or can't not hire you, and listen, that's what I love. I've gotten to where I love doing projects. I don't care if sometimes like the short films or films that don't pay much at all, it's like, I'll do it because it's a great opportunity. My pal, Michael Broderick, who
yeah, great guy.
He did the Fathers and Sons, the Terminalist story, based on Jack Carr's novel, The Terminalist. And Michael asked me to be a part of that. And you know what? I love the fact he's proactive. He is a person who goes, you know what? I ain't got time to mess around. I decided I'm going to produce this, star in it, going to get the funding for it, and going to make it happen. And that's what we have to do in this business. That's what you do. And Eileen Gruba, I see that as well. And so that inspires me and makes me want to be a better actor and a better human, and to help other people.
And you're right. I mean, I think that's the thing, the lesson for people. I know for myself, when when 2020 hit, and that in March, and a lot of people I know retreated away from going out there. And I just, because I come from an event with Jason Cisneros, Unstoppable, we had a different mindset, and we were like, no, we're not going to retreat. We're going to go forward, and we're going to throw ourselves into doing more things and accomplishing more and being the best we can be. And so the last 2 years, when I know a lot of people who retreated, I probably had 2 of the best years I've ever had, and done more things, because I was like, no, it was a conscious choice. In the face of that risk, in the face of that fear, I was still going to go ahead, because, I don't know how long the time is. None of us really know how much time we have, but I know I'm in the fourth quarter. And so we got to turn it up, man. It's like basketball. I play basketball every week. The fourth quarter, if you ain't ahead by then, you got to turn it up,
That you're an inspiration, because I see all your videos on Instagram of you out there, working out and getting buff and got the big muscles working. I'm like, oh man, that's an inspiration. You know what? That inspires me to want to get out of bed earlier in the morning, get outside, pick up my kettlebell or pick up my dumbbells and do a little something before my breakfast, And so, that's what life is. To me, is you inspiring me. It's Eileen inspiring me. It's all those people that in our sphere that inspire us to be better people. Then we can do the same for others.
Exactly. It's all of us inspiring each other in this sphere, but also inspiring other people that we can reach further and share, what we've learned, and how we're stepping up and trying to encourage them to be the best they can be. So I'm going to pivot a little bit, if you don't mind. I'm going to get you to one of the things you did, which I'd love to hear, what it meant to you, because you stepped up to being a host on a great show called A Grateful Nation on outdoor. And that gave you an opportunity to do something new, to host a show, but to do some amazing things with Wounded Warriors. And you did it for 10 seasons, I believe.
Yeah.
Right? So could you tell us a little bit about, how'd you get into doing that, and then what that meant to you, and some of the highlights of the people these Wounded Warriors that you took on these incredible adventures? Talk about courage. And you took them on these adventures, and how it affected them, but also how it affected you.
Oh, that's one of the highlights of my life, is doing Grateful Nation. And the way it started this was back in I think around 2007. I had gotten introduced to Chris Dorsey. Chris Dorsey had a company called Orion Entertainment. It's now called Dorsey Pictures. But I was asked to host a show about an actor. It was they were looking for an actor who liked to hunt and shoot. And I said, why me? And so basically it was because so many actors were afraid of Hollywood and their agents telling them, don't do that. It's about hunting and guns, and it'll kill your career. But living courageously means not hiding that fact that I'm a conservationist. I'm a hunter. I'm a fisherman. I'm an outdoorsman. I believe in making things better for our next generation. And hunting for me is that's what I grew up with my first shotgun that my granddad gave me. So when I was asked to do that show, I did it for 2 seasons, and then it segued into a show called Grateful Nation. Now, it segued into Grateful Nation because of a soldier named Greg Stubbe, a Special Forces soldier. And Greg Stubbe was so inspirational in his speech that he gave that Chris Dorsey and some of the other folks that were involved in the show said, hey, what do you think about doing a show where you take veterans on hunts and you tell their story? And so I was down for it. I said, that sounds awesome to me. And so the show went from being called The Federal Experience with Tim Abell to Grateful Nation on the Outdoor Channel. And basically the theme of it was taking veterans who've been wounded in combat, some severely with, loss of limbs and eyesights and all kinds of things, and telling their story while in the great outdoors on a hunt. So we could be in the Colorado mountains on an elk hunt and basically then tell the story about who they are, what the outdoors means to them, how they got, what they thought about it after losing their legs or a limb or eyesight or being burned, and then getting back to it and being able to realize that they could actually do something that they thought they would never be able to do again. So for me, the show was just the most wonderful experience and expression of love to our military, because I was able to tell so many stories over those 10 seasons of all of these different veterans from every background and in the field. And some were very emotional. I mean, we've had shows where guys have broken down, and it's not just the guys, but also our guides when they are able to, when I'm talking to them about these veterans and, watching this guy out there in the field, and he's out there with his prosthetic legs and canes and just pushing through and, dealing with the pain. And it's just so inspirational to the viewers, but also to the guide and to myself, because we're witnessing it firsthand. So that to me was one of the highlights of what I've done in the past, 15, 20 years was that show, because it told so many great stories about so many great individuals and their heroism and their deeds and what they've done to make this a better country for us as well.
Well, one of the things I just like you to talk to about it, because one of the things that affected you, I think, apparently for a lifetime, was your experience as a ranger. It created bonds, obviously, with all the people that you serve with, but it also created bonds for a lifetime of service to others, I think. And just, so that experience of making that choice to join the Rangers, and then how that kind of rippled effect throughout your life and continues to ripple into the future.
Yeah, it's funny when you mention that, because it's guys that I served with back when I just went in. I mean, I'm still pals with, I'm still friends with, I'm still in communication with. Not everyone, but a high degree of them. And my friend Joe Polizzi, who I was serving the Ranger Battalion with, great guy. And he and I stay in contact. And Ron Britton, who he was one of the guys who I actually went in on the train to Trenton, New Jersey, go to Fort Dix, New Jersey for basic training. He and I and another fellow named Wayne DeGroat, we were all going to the Ranger Battalion. And it was the most fascinating journey for a young man. I think back, and it's like, wow. And Ron Britton had just sent me a message recently about telling me how proud he was of me. Now this is a guy that went from the Ranger Battalion into Special Forces, spent 30 years in the military, and he was saying he was proud of me and what I've done. And I'm like, man, I'm proud of you for your 30 years service and Special Forces and fighting the good fight all those years. I got out and became an actor, but you're out there doing the heavy lifting. But for him, he goes, you know what? You served, and then you got out, and then you became an actor, and he goes, and you're a good actor. He goes, I watch you in these things, and I think you're damn good. He goes, I'm proud of you for doing that. So for me, it's like, well, that's worth everything right there. To hear my pals and guys I've served with, and I get so many messages from former Ranger pals and people that some of them I didn't even know, but who've seen stuff I've done and, have reached out and told me. And so it's, if I can inspire those people to, for whatever reason, however, then I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for them to be able to, to enjoy the work that I do. But it's like, again, living courageously in terms of this industry, it's, even though it's not easy, we continue to go forward, and we continue to, I always say, I want to help other people. I want to help other people to become the best that they can be. So Gallant Few is great, because Gallant Few has a mentorship program, basically. And basically it's always, as does VME, Veterans in Military and Entertainment. But I get lots of messages where people say, hey, Mr. Abell, I want to be just out of the military, and I want to be an actor. What can I do? Or I want to be a writer. How can I help? And so if anything I can give them can help fuel their fire, help them have an easier path than I had to be a success in this industry, then I want to give that to them. I want them to succeed. I want to see them, become that 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 star or whatever it is that they want in this industry. It's because listen, it's not like being in the military, but it's not an easy industry. It's a lot of rejection, and it's a lot of you got the show business aspect is what's predominant. As we said earlier, when you're on set, when you're working, that's the gravy, that's the gold, that's the fun stuff. That's where our passion lies. But in this industry, the show business aspect is all those things that we have to do to get that job.
That's right.
And listen, I never felt more fortunate in my life when I was doing Soldier of Fortune, because I had, for 2 seasons, I was getting paid great money, and I got to, I worked like a half a year, and I had another half a year off to do other movies and other projects. But it was like the most wonderful experience because you're being paid to do what you love. And now I have the time to be able to do all those things that I need to do, whether it's stay physically fit, read the books about I needed on my reading list to play Benny Ray Riddle, to all these sniper books that I had that I wanted to read and feed my mind with, and all about weapons books and all about, Marines. And so all those things that me as an actor, I want to fill myself with to be a better actor, a better character. That's what it gave me the time to do. But we have to find that same time, even when in the lean times. And that's where I think, you got to be able to suck it up and drive on and not quit. Because I always said it, once I feel no more joy for what I do, I'll do something different. But it hasn't changed. I still love, I'll give you a good example is in the pandemic. This was just only about 6 months ago. A friend of mine, director and great animationist, he is doing a movie called The New Mana, and it's about the Eucharist miracles, and it's one of these. It's like The Chosen. It's all this crowdfunding. They're raising the money to do it, and he calls me. And he's Italian. He's like, Tim. I got a favor to ask you. I need you to play Moses for me. And I was like, going, Moses. You mean Moses? He goes, yeah, do you still have the beard? And I sent him a picture. He goes, oh yeah, you're going to be a perfect Moses. And I'm like, going, oh darn, Moses. So it's one of those things that he felt, based on work he's seen that I've done, that I'd be a great Moses for him. And I had all this like doubt. But anyway, my point is that kind of pulled me out of a funk, because I'm like, the pandemic stuff's happening, and I go, okay, this gives me a new mission here. Okay, what am I doing? I'm going to be Moses. How can I be the best Moses I possibly can? And listen, I went to Methodist Sunday school as a kid. I went to, been to some Catholic masses and things like that because my mom was Catholic, but I'm really not a religious scholar. I don't know that much. I didn't know that much. And it was an education for me, which is one of those things about being an actor, which I love, is that we learn.
Right.
And if I can learn by playing a character, well, then that day that's a good day. So what I learned was, it's like, wow. So I'm grateful to my friend Angelo Labuti for trusting me and giving me that opportunity. But those things happen; they come along, and gosh, I mean, it's
those are blessings, man. Those are definitely blessings to be able to get to do what you love and get to go through all that stuff. So that's a real amazing thing. Tell the audience a little bit about A Gallant Few. You just did something recently for them besides being on their board. And you just did a project, I think, recently for them to help support them.
Yeah, well, every year they were doing I got on the board in 2012, and that's like one of the first year. And I was like the first chairman of the board. It's now grown exponentially, and it's kind of blown up into a much bigger thing. I was on the board for 10 years, and I just stepped down, and I'm still on the advisory board, but I'm not on the main board. And so they need new blood in there, and I want to give them that opportunity by myself stepping down. But every year, Gallant Few had been doing a charity event raising money for their coffers called Run Ranger Run. And it had to do with Corey, who was a ranger that ran from Fort Benning to Ohio when he was getting out of the military, out of the Rangers, and it was he was trying to raise money for an event. And so the event was called Run Ranger Run for many years. It just changed over in the past year and a half or 2 years to called the Patriot Challenge. And it just raises money by logging miles and getting people to sponsor you. And in doing so, Gallant Few is able to help veterans across the board, from Marines, Coast Guard, Army, Air Force, everybody to who are transitioning from active duty back to the civilian world. And we think, when we think about victimhood, or think we have difficult time with what we're doing and whatnot, think about these young men and women that are transitioning from the military back to the civilian world, and some of them with PTSD or wounds or loss of limbs and eyesight and whatnot, and trying to get back into that world and trying to find their place. Because in the military, we have a place. We know what we're doing. We have a job. We have a mission every day. In the civilian world, you can get lost. And so Gallant Few helps helps them find mission and purpose again.
And that's been something, obviously, you've done a lot. And then you mentioned earlier too, now on the Hollywood side, the organization that you're part of, that I've done some trainings for, great people, VME, Veterans in Media and Entertainment.
Yeah.
And they're out of American Legion Post 43 that I belong to as a son of the Legion, because my dad was in the Army.
Yeah.
And so that's a great group that, besides Gallant Few, which is transitioning people from the military into wherever they can go in the civilian life, VME is focused on helping people in the entertainment industry, veterans, to succeed in the entertainment industry. And you're part of that. And that's also a great organization with some great folks.
They do such great work. And like I say, you've done your classes where you've taught about how to be a line producer. What does it mean to be a line producer? All those things. It's the classes from whether it's animation or writing. And I just love how it's grown. It's really grown from what it was years ago to a very viable organization that's got thousands of young men and women transitioning out of the military. And they have the chapter here in LA. They also have one in New York, but helping people. And again, I get messages from folks that I've been able to mentor somewhat through VME. And, it's, for me, it just helps me become a better person and a better actor by me helping them become to break into the industry, if you will. Because that's the one thing. It's always about, how do you get into this? How do you become an actor? It's like, well, it's there's a lot of different ways into it. Now, I mean, from now to what it was 20 years ago,
Very different.
It's night and day, because now you can make all your own content. You can do YouTube videos, you can do Vimeos, and you could create your own little short films, and you could shoot stuff, on an iPhone. And now, before it used to be you had to have all the cameras, and you have to have all the gear, and you have to have the crew. I mean, I look at what we did with Michael Broderick's Fathers and Sons. That was, I tell you, Michael just did an outstanding job producing that. So, not the acting was awesome. He was great. But I say the producing aspect of that, him bringing Ryan Curtis, another veteran, into to direct, and bringing his crew in who edited and did sound. Most of them were all veterans as well. Bringing in Tyne Strickland, who Michael knew from class with John Lacey and John Lacey's class. And I just looked at that and I go, wow, Michael did just such an awesome job. He ended up securing the Barney's Beanery, because it was the middle of the pandemic and they weren't having any indoor clientele. So he knew the owner, and the owner said, sure, you want to shoot there? Sure. And so Michael was able to parlay all these things and create an outstanding little short. And I look at that and I go, that's what taking the bull by the horns is. That's what producing is, believing in the project. And he made an outstanding project. And I'm very grateful that he asked me to be a part of that. So that's the thing with today's I always tell young filmmakers, you can make your own content. You can create your own. You can create your own little YouTube series, if you will, do 5 minutes every couple weeks. You create your own content. But it's what's the word? Momentum. You get the training, know what you're capable of doing, and then having that momentum and the drive, desire, and determination and passion to continue and to make those things, because that's what, for me, filmmaking is making great little projects. And some of the best projects I've been in for myself have been short films.
Well, that was an excellent one. All of the performances were great, but just everything about it. Michael did a fantastic job. You obviously did a great job acting in it, but I really, and like you said, and he did it during a time when everybody else was retreating. He went out and took advantage of that opportunity to create that excellent short film that had, was just great content. You just had some great content.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of what, and that's one of the things I think, being part of the community, and me being honored to be part of the community at the American Legion, at Post 43, at VME, to, as a civilian, to be a civilian supporter of all these different efforts. It's I'm blessed by it because, like when we met, we started out and then we kind of ran into each other in many different places. Yeah. I remember we were on the USS Midway. You interviewed me. I got a picture of that.
Yeah.
In fact, with that's coming up. Right. Yeah. That's there. You interviewing me there.
Yeah.
And then we participated in other things like this walk with American soldiers.
Yep.
So, our paths crossed in so many ways from one point of a contact. And, for me, it's been a blessing to do that and to have this community out there. I think in some ways, in the time I've been in Hollywood, the veteran community in Hollywood has been the best community. I got to go to the GI Film Festival with the flag. Yeah. And I said at the time it was the best film festival I've ever been to because it's the quality of the people. It was just real people, and to me, that's what I enjoy the most is being around real people, not being around less, say more fake people in Hollywood. So that's been, and you've been part of all that, I think, in your career. So you've had a chance to work with so many different types of people.
And I go back to this again, that you're an inspiration to so many folks because of your giving. And I think it's probably from, your work with Tony Robbins and your wanting to, and being part of Post 43 and knowing the veterans, but sharing your success stories, sharing your knowledge to those young filmmakers, actors, producers, whatever they might be. That's invaluable, and you've touched people's lives in a way. To me, that's what, living courageously is all about. Is you're helping others to live courageously and to create content and to be the best that they can be in this industry. And that's, listen, I've been, a lot of times I've been asked, why do you spend time talking to people that, can't do anything for you, and I go, because they can't do anything for me. I'm not doing it to get a job. I'm doing it to get paid. I'm going to give them 3 hours of my time telling them what I know. So hopefully their journey will be easier and that they can be successful. And if that 3 hours of my time helps them, well, God bless them, and I'm willing to give that time. So, and a lot of people aren't. A lot of people are, what's in it for me? Why do I want to talk to that person? Why do I want to read that person's script? Whatever, why, and it's like, well, because it's what being a good person's about. It's what sharing and helping others to achieve their dreams can be fulfilling to you as well, and to make you a better person and make you achieve things that you never thought you could.
That's so true. And you never, I always say the secret to living is giving. And when you give of your time, when you give of that to somebody, you're not doing it to get anything back. You do get back, that's not why you do it, but you get back things that you don't know where they're going to come from. And maybe it's just that connect. When I was up in Canada, there was a guy, one of the extras was just standing on line as an extra. And he just looked interesting to me. So I went over and I shook his hand and said, hey, who are you, man? What's your story? And I like to know people's stories. And this guy grew up in Cambodia during Pol Pot, and he escaped from Cambodia. And he is a judo expert. He's all these things. And now we become friends for life, all because I just reached out to this guy, shook his hand and said, hey, man, what's your story? And you don't realize what you get back by doing that, by willing to give, like you said. And I think that's what you've done throughout your life with all the different ways that you've served. And I just think we got to tell people, it's like, it's the best thing you can do is to do that. It really is. It just,
Yep.
if you don't do that, you're sabotaging yourself. You're hurting yourself. You're missing out on the good things in life by
That's right.
being forgive. You are.
That's right. I listen. One thing I wanted to share with you that I share with people, because people will often ask me about acting and whatnot, and what advice do you give me? It's all the normal stuff. Yeah, okay, yeah, study hard and trust yourself, all those types of things. Read a lot, do plays, but when you're on set, when you're working, I always say this is where that living courageously within yourself as an actor is trusting your instincts. And what I mean by that is, so many times I remember when I first started acting, I thought I had an impulse to do something, and I go, no, I can't do that. No, I didn't rehearse that, or I didn't clear that with the other actor or the director, and it always bothered me. And I didn't get to become I didn't become a good actor until I trusted those instincts enough to just do them, because 9 times out of 10, director would go, "Oh, I like that. Was great. Yeah, awesome. Okay, yeah, let's move on. That was really awesome," because it's about the surprises, about those things that come up as an actor. And I said, if you don't trust those things, then why are you an actor? If you're just trying to be like every other actor, well, then they come a dime a dozen. But a director hires you because you're unique. You're you. Be that. Let yourself be unique. Maybe the director will go, "Hey, John, don't do that thing you just did there. I kind of liked it, but yeah, I don't think it works." And okay, great. And then you move on. It just didn't work for that time. But trusting yourself, you can come up with so many great things. And that's what I always just tell actors: trust yourself and be courageous in your decision making. And when you do it, if you do it fully and passionately, 9 times out of 10, the director's going to go, "That's awesome. That's awesome." And they move on. So, and that's what will make you, I'll say, that's what can give memorable performances. That's what can make, well, for me, it's that passion. It's like, wow, I felt, and I don't go home thinking, man, why didn't I trust myself? Because, that's what being an actor is, I think, is taking risks.
And right, and that's what we were saying earlier and throughout the whole show. You were speaking to, because there's all kinds of courage. There's the big courage, and then there's the small courage, and it's the courage that in that moment, trusting your instinct. That's
Yeah.
a courageous act. Courage isn't always putting your life on the line. That's one version of courage, and obviously an important one. But then there's other forms of courage, and just on a daily basis, finding that small and big and medium size, all those moments to be courageous, to not be afraid. When you're afraid, step into the fear and do it anyway. Don't let the fear hold you back. Acknowledge the fear. Yeah, I'm afraid, or yeah, that's real. But at the same time, I'm going to step through this fear. I'm not going to let the fear hold me. I'm going to go through it. I'm going to be the person who goes forward, not backwards.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. It's like everything I go back to this specificity about being an actor. The one thing where most actors fear, a lot of actors have fear. Listen, I've been there too. Where I didn't do my homework. I wasn't prepared. I'll say I thought I could just wing it, and I blew it. It's on me. So that courage of being so down with you get your 10, 20 pages of dialogue or scenes or whatever. Um, you know, if you don't want to spend the time on it, then don't waste their time, because someone else is going to get the job. Go in there fully prepared, balls to the wall, know it backwards and forwards, know who the character is, make those decisions. In the military, you always say, indecision kills. And same thing within acting. You have to make a decision about who that character is you're playing. And, right or wrong, you can't be willy-nilly. You got to be very concrete about who that character is. And when you go in, now it's all self-tape pretty much, but when you do your self-tape for that audition, you just got to be so, I'll say, concrete in your mind of who this character is and what's happening. And don't look back, and don't be iffy, and you just do it. And be happy in that moment for that, because if I did if I set out to do it in this audition, then that's all that matters. Because if I get the job or don't get the job, that's not that's not my call.
Right.
That person's going to go, that guy was really good, but he's just doesn't look the part, you know.
Right. Right. Because you
Or
can't
yeah,
control those things. You can
yeah,
only control
yeah,
what you bring to the table.
yeah.
Right.
I've had times where people go, not for this, but I want you to be in my. If I could, I'm going to be directing another episode. Yeah. What was it? What was the show? Uh, it's an ABC series called Line of Fire years ago. Anyway, I auditioned for Rod Lurie, the director. Uh, I couldn't do that part for because I had another gig, but I did such a good job. He said, he goes, I have to work with this guy. And so Mary Jo Slater said, Tim, he loves you. And he says, since you can't do this one, he's going to be directing one in 2 months and he wants you to be in it. So just so you know, you got a job in 2 months. So I said, oh, cool. So, that was it. But
That opened up that door. Yep.
yeah, it just goes, you just got to go in and, like what Eileen Gruber said again, I go back to that. Be so good that people want to work with you. People can't deny you. So,
Well, you are that guy. You are that guy who's so good that people want to work with you, and you got the right attitudes and everything. So as we come to a close, Tim, what do you want to share? Is anything you want to tell us that's coming up for you, or just any takeaways for people? As we've kind of wrapped. I can't believe it's always my biggest challenge is like, really, an hour we're over already. But so just coming to that point, what would you say?
well, I just want to tell everybody that share your knowledge to those people that, again, that can't do anything for you. Share something with people that could use that information and would love to hear that information from you without expecting anything in return. Share what you have and give it on to somebody else. Like paying it forward, because there's so many people in this industry that it's all about, well, what about me? What do I get out of this? As opposed to, what can I do to make the world a better place in terms of like, this guy wants to do what I'm doing, whether it's sound engineering or line producing, directing, or being an actor. I can give this guy something, why not share of your time, give, and help somebody out that could use that hand up, and maybe, recommend them for something that can be very, very, so not, what's the word? That I'm not expecting that person's going to get from me. So, I think that share your knowledge with other people, because it comes back. And that person, again, I think it's just incumbent upon us to, help those. And for me, helping our veterans, I think, it's just one of the best things I've ever done is to be able to tell stories from our veterans, of who they were before they joined the military, after they joined the military, them getting by with, some of them that have lost legs. One I'm thinking of, a Navy SEAL, Dan Knausen, and he's got a degree from Harvard now. He's he's won gold medals in the Paralympics, and he's just a monster in terms of never giving up and setting the example for others to follow. When we were in Africa with him, Dan Knausen I just always blew my mind, because in between like doing our morning hunt in the morning, we come back and he was out there, having a difficult time. Well, we'd come back for lunch and go, "Where's Dan? Tell him lunch is ready." And then Mike Day, his pal, another Navy SEAL, goes, "Dan's out for a 5-mile run because he's getting ready for one of the for the Marine Corps marathon when we get back to DC." I go, "Holy crap!" Because I know he's a monster. He's just a monster. Again, that is the mindset that I love. And you see people that say, "You know what? I will never give up. I will never allow me having lost my legs to that means the enemy won. If I'm just going to lay back and drink and take my drugs and rot away, or kill myself. You know what? I need to continue on. I need to have that same mindset of never quit, never give up, and drive on." And that's my message. can do those things. Drive on, set the example for others to follow. Like you're up every morning at 5 a.m. doing your workouts, setting the example for others to follow, John. And I just I appreciate you for that, brother.
Well, you're very welcome, and thank you so much, Tim. And you've been an inspiration, and just watching you, that you take that passion, that you take your service in the military, you take serving others, that you take the time to care about people who can't do anything for you. You're an inspiration, and I think, for the audience watching this, I think people need to hear that message of inspiration, that message of service, that message of being selfless. You don't need you're not doing it to get something back. I mean, that's not the purpose of it. It's not always like it's not a transaction. I only do this for you if you do this for me. Yeah. No, that's not the way to live life.
That's right.
It just isn't. And you don't exemplify it. You exemplify the opposite of that. You do for others. You do for service. And I'm honored and blessed to know you and have met you. And I'm just so thank you for coming on the show and sharing all the other stuff, and keep inspiring, man, because we're going to work together some more. We got a lot more to do.
I do got to ask you, what that picture up there on your shelf there with the mustache and the gun, what is that from?
Okay. So let me just put it
I love that photo.
The audience can see it. So that was the beginning of my entry into the industry, Tim. I started acting back in New York. In theater, when I was younger, obviously. And, the first movie I did was that movie called Bums. And you'll love this story, right? So I played a hired killer. And what the story was, me and my bad guys, we were going around killing homeless people. And this was a long time ago. And this guy, his brother was a military veteran who was homeless. So he organized these homeless people together to take us out. So in the movie, they finally chased me down. I'm in a porta potty. They turn over the porta potty. I come out covered in shit, and they break my neck and drop me in it. And at the time, I had like 3 earrings, and the actor who grabbed my neck and did it, ripped all 3 earrings out of my ear. So blood's pouring down my ear. I'm laying in the ground in pain. And the director's like, man, that was great. You just looked like you were really in pain. Because I was. But hey, as long as we got the take, let's go. So that was the beginning of my acting career. And then eventually I came out to LA, and then I pivoted. It was a fun movie, and I had a blast doing it, man. And then, of course, I pivoted behind the camera.
Wow. And you do a great job, brother. I tell you.
So I made me get back in front of the camera. I did. Matter of fact, one of the guys, veterans, John Mendoza, up at Post 43, they had a short film festival just recently at the Legion Post 43, and he did a short movie that was basically the zombies attacking Post 43. So he asked me to act in the movie as a veteran Coast Guard guy, and we're arguing over how we're going to deal with the zombies while the zombies are taking us out. So it was. So it was a fun experience. So who knows, I may be coming back to acting.
Why not? You could bounce back and forth.
Exactly. But hey, man, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for being part of it, man. And thank you for all you do. And I look forward to working with you in the future.
All right, I look forward to it too. And you know what? And keep getting these great guests, because I'm loving your shows, man.
I got a bunch more, and you're going to know some of them, I think. And you keep, when I first started this idea, I had like 40 people. I put a list of 40 people I wanted to interview that I know personally. The list is now up to 75. I'm like, oh God, and I'm just blessed, truly blessed to know so many great people like yourself and all these other folks that, they've come into my life, and we've become family and friends for life. And so
that's wonderful.
I just want to share them because they got great stories, and I think they'll inspire people.
Well, and you are inspiring people. So, and your guests are as well. So thank you for what you're doing, and thanks for having me on, brother.
You got it, man. Have a great one. God bless, man.
Cheers.
Cheers. All right. Well, that was number 8 with Tim Abell. What an amazing, courageous individual. I hope you get a chance to watch all of his show. And here's somebody who served as a warrior in the military, as a Army Ranger, and then went on to be a service warrior, serving people through his show, A Grateful Nation, being on the board of Gallant Few, being part of the American Legion and Veterans in Media Entertainment, but also in small ways, exemplifying courage his whole life, courage in the military, courage as an actor, courage at helping other people, just stepping up, and being that kind of person. And I think, we can learn so much from folks like that. I'm honored to know him. And this was one more show, and we got some more coming up. I got 2 more people scheduled for the next 2 weeks. One is Bob Hammer, who is a former FBI agent, an author, and a consultant in the film industry. And then another, both friends, and another friend, Dave Albin, who led firewalks for Tony Robbins and led his own firewalks, and is a speaker, a motivator, an author, and just an all-around inspiring person. That's the next 2 weeks. And then it just keeps going from there. I got, like I told Tim at the end, I got another 60 plus people that I know personally who have incredible stories just like them. And some of the people have popped on is somebody here who I'm going to just throw up. Ted Shred, who is also somebody I'm going to be bringing on the show. He didn't know that. He just found it out right now. But Ted will be on the show as well. So thank you, everybody. Just inspire, encourage you to live courageously, and join me next Sunday at 12 p.m. when we speak with our next guest, Bob Hammer. Have a great weekend. God bless.